Hello my party people, today I'm going to be showing you how to make this cherry tree farm. It produces about 18,000 logs per hour and uses a similar amount of bone meal. And I'm going to give you a block by block tutorial on how to build it. Let's get stuck into it. The things you will need are contained within this chest. This is going to be our temporary block that we'll be using for the tutorial. This is going to be an infinite water source. All of the glass that you see up here can be any block you choose. It doesn't have to be glass. I'm just going with glass for the aesthetic. You only actually need 10 glass, which is important for the redstone. These blocks here do have to be some type of log. They don't have to be stripped. I'm just using stripped logs to distinguish from the regular logs. They don't have to be cherry logs either. These blocks can be any kind of solid block. These slabs can be any type of slab. The same goes for these walls. You don't need to specifically use cherry wood to make your wooden components. They can be another type of wood. You are also going to want 20 dummy items. They obviously do not have to be pufferfish. They can be any item that you don't think is going to end up in the sorting system. And you're going to want these items as item filters. Let's get stuck into the building, shall we? We're going to start by building a 7 wide, 6 deep glass slab. We're now going to want to place down our collection system for the farm. We're going to place chests 3 blocks from the front. Place a hopper facing into the back of them. Now build up a chest hopper snake as follows. You're now going to want to repeat that for all of the chests. We're going to take 4 temporary blocks and place them as follows. Place solid blocks on top. Place repeaters facing towards the chests. Place blocks in front and behind the repeaters. If you haven't already, go ahead and break those temporary blocks. Place a block on top of all of the repeaters. Place redstone torches on the sides of these blocks. Fill in these blocks. Place comparators facing away from the hoppers. Place hoppers facing into the back of the comparators. You can see that the hoppers are not facing down. This is important. Cover these blocks in redstone dust. Place a temporary block 1 block diagonally from the glass platform. Place a regular block on top. Place a repeater facing towards the chests. Place a block in front and behind. Place a block on top of the repeater. Place a temporary block on the side of this chest. Use that to place an outwards facing dropper. Place a hopper facing into the back of the dropper. If you haven't already, go ahead and remove the temporary block. Place a redstone torch on the side of this block. Place a block here and place a comparator on top facing away from the hopper. Again, place a hopper facing into the back of the comparator. Fill in these blocks with redstone dust. You can now go ahead and fill in your dummy items as follows. You're going to want to place a packed ice block between the hoppers. Place 1 glass on the edge of the hopper and place packed ice on the edge of the glass. build out 8 more glass. Place scaffolding on top of this ice block and a stone cutter on top of this ice block. We're going to now build the auto dropper that's going to power this dropper. Place a temporary block directly underneath the dropper. Place a note block on top. You can now break the temporary block. Put a regular block on top and place 2 observers facing outwards from the note block. Place a regular block on the end. Place a note block on top. Place 2 more observers in the opposite direction. Place a comparator facing out from the dropper. Place a block in front of the comparator. Place a redstone torch on the back of the block above the note block. Place soul sand beneath the dropper. Place a temporary block here and surround it by glass. You may now break the temporary block. Build up a glass tube as follows. Go to the end of the hoppers and place a temporary block. Surround it by glass. You can now break the temporary block. Fill in glass as follows. You can now place water here. Place another temporary block here. Place glass on the back of it. You can now break the temporary block. Fill in glass as follows. You can now place water here. Place a temporary block on the back of the scaffolding. Place glass on either side. Extend this out another 7 blocks. Build forward 3 more blocks. Build back 4 blocks. Build back another 4 blocks. And finally, build back 3 blocks. Fill this square in. You can now place water here. On this square we've created, we're going to place a temporary block here, 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 and here. We're now going to want to place 8 glass blocks facing outwards from each of these temporary blocks. Join these rows as follows. Connect the outside of the rows in the same fashion. You should have a shape that looks something like this. Go ahead and fill it in. Go ahead and take out the corners. On each of the corners, you're going to want to place 2 temporary blocks here, and fill in the back of them with glass. Before we connect the sides, we're just going to build this tube up by 1. You can now go ahead and fill in the sides. you can go ahead and place water in the opposite corner to this water stream. On each of the corners, place a temporary block here, and place a water here. After that, you can break these two temporary blocks. For the next step, you're going to want to place water sources along each of the sides. However, you're not going to place water sources where the water has risen. Again, we've placed our last water source here and not here. Repeat that on all sides. Your water should now look like this. Yet again, we're going to build up this tube, this time by 3 blocks. Going to the center, we're going to want to place a temporary block in the middle here. Place a regular block on top. And place a repeater facing this direction. You can now break the temporary block. Place a block on either side of the repeater. Place a redstone torch on the back of this block. Place a regular block on the back of this block, and another block on top. You can now start to place your ladders and hop up on top. Place another block, and place your remaining ladder. Place a dropper on top of this torch. Place a lever on the side of the dropper, and turn it on. Place redstone dust here, and place a block on top of the repeater. Place an observer facing out from this dropper. Place an upwards facing dropper next to the observer, and place an upwards facing dropper next to this block. Place a hopper feeding into this block. Place 11 packed dice as follows. We're now going to build up this tube one final time as follows. Create a glass border around the packed ice as follows. Temporary block. Go ahead and fill this tube with water. Place a temporary block here and give the water stream a roof. Place a block on top of this redstone dust, and place a comparator facing into the block. Place a hopper facing into either side of this dropper. Place 5 hoppers as follows. Place 6 hoppers as follows. Place 5 double chests as follows. Place 3 composters as follows. I was a bit of a silly goof and I made a mistake. This block doesn't need to be here. We're going to want to place another dropper facing upwards here, and a dropper facing sideways here. Place a redstone dot here. Place a slab on the back of this dropper. Place a regular block here. We're going to count 3 glass blocks, and place a temporary block on the side of the third. Place a wall on the side of this block. You may now break the temporary block. Place an observer facing out the back of the wall, and place a piston facing up. You're going to want to place a dirt block on top of this comparator. This dirt block is going to be where every single one of the trees that goes through this farm will be grown. Place a block here, place a temporary block here, and place another block here. Go over to the first chest and place a temporary block next to it, and place a regular block next to that. Place a comparator facing away from the dirt. Place a block in front of the comparator and next to the comparator. Place redstone dust in this corner. Place a piston facing towards the dirt block. Place not a dropper but a dispenser facing the dirt block. This is going to be what dispenses the bone meal. You're going to want to place 6 temporary blocks as follows. Break the first one, but leave the other 5. Place 2 redstone dust as follows. Place a block in front of the redstone dust. Place a repeater set to 2 ticks facing out from this block. Place a block in front of the repeater. Place an observer facing out from the piston we placed earlier. Place a note block in front of the observer. And place another outwards facing observer. Place a block in front of the observer. Place a repeater set to 2 ticks facing out from that block. Place a block in front of this repeater. Build 2 blocks diagonally upwards as follows. Place redstone dust on each of these 3 blocks. You're going to want to repeat the exact same process here. Place temporary blocks in the following locations. Go ahead and place a 5x5 slab of stripped logs as follows. Go ahead and remove the temporary blocks you just placed, making sure to keep these 5 blocks. You're going to want to place a temporary block here, and then break the first one. Place 3 walls as follows. Place 2 leaf blocks here, and waterlog them. Place a regular block here. You may now place water here. Place temporary blocks here and here. Use them to place sticky pistons in the following locations. You may now break the temporary blocks. Place lower half slabs on the piston faces. Place another 5x5 slab of logs. Place 5 more layers of logs, pistons, and slabs. Your farm should now look something like this. We're now going to place 3 rows of regular blocks as follows. Cover these in redstone dust. Place a tower of glass and redstone as follows. This should all now be connected. Repeat this on the other side. On the 3rd slab from the top on this side, we're going to place a wall. Place an observer facing upwards from the wall, and place a piston facing outwards. Place a target block here, and here. They should be arranged like this. Place 3 blocks diagonally up from the target block as follows. Place powered rails along these blocks. Place a temporary block here and a block on the other side. You can now break this temporary block. Place an observer facing out from the top rail. Place 11 temporary blocks as follows. On the 11th block, place another temporary block and then place an obsidian on top. Place 3 temporary blocks as follows. Place an obsidian on top. Break the temporary blocks. Place a trapdoor here and open it. Place 2 temporary blocks here and here. Place a trapdoor on the side and open it. Place glass here and a temporary block on top. Surround this temporary block with glass. You can now break the temporary block. Extend this glass out as follows. You can now place water here. Place regular blocks in the following locations. Place a repeater set to 4 ticks facing outwards from the observer. Place a comparator here and here. Place a block in front of the repeater and the comparator. Place a redstone torch on the side of this block. Place redstone dust in the following locations. Place a temporary block here and place glass next to it. Build up the glass as follows. Place a fence gate here. Place blocks in the following shape. Place a block on top of this repeater. Place a block on top of this glass and next to that block. Place a piston here. Place another piston here. Place a note block here. Place a redstone dot here and place blocks next to it. Place an observer facing into this block. Place TNT here. Place redstone dust here and a redstone repeater facing out from the dust set to 4 ticks. Place a block next to the repeater. Go ahead and place a lever on top of this block and switch it on. Place a comparator facing out from the block. Place a repeater here and here. Set the first one to 3 ticks and the second one to 4 ticks. Place 4 more repeaters in the following locations. Place blocks connecting all of the repeaters as follows. Set this comparator to subtraction mode. Place a regular block here, place glass here, and place 2 more regular blocks. Place an observer facing up from the piston. I made a little bit of a mistake. This observer should be facing downwards. Place redstone dust along here. Finally, place power rails in the following locations. This is a TNT duper module, and it is now finished. If you want to test it, break this redstone dust here, and it should start duping TNT. Okay, I fixed it. You're now going to want to build the exact same module on the other side, facing the opposite direction. Now that both of the TNT modules are finished, the farm should be ready for use. To run the farm, you'll need a generous quantity of bone meal. As a general rule of thumb, one bone meal will produce about 1.5 logs. When you run the farm for the first time, you'll want to fill this dropper with about a stack of cherry saplings. Once you've done that, the farm should be able to sustain itself. To run the farm, you'll want a couple of saplings to head up this ladder and flick this lever to turn the farm on. From here, hold down the right click button on this dirt block here. As you can see, the farm is working as intended. The farm is now fully operational and can be run as long as there is bone meal. The farm will automatically shut off if there is not enough bone meal left in the system to keep running. You will have noticed that this dropper here dispenses a new sapling every time you place another sapling. This way you never run out. The purpose of the slabs is to stop fallen saplings from getting stuck in the pusher blocks and migrating upwards, where they will get stuck on the top of the farm. The farm produces 18,800 logs per hour and uses about 16,000 bone meal per hour. The original design from which this design is based was by the legendary Dave Rooney. This farm simply serves as an improvement on his design. The main improvement to the farm is that saplings are returned automatically to the player, allowing the farm to run continuously given bone meal input. I also made some minor lag optimizations and added a functional storage system. The bone meal storage system is expandable in this direction and currently can hold enough bone meal for approximately 1 hour of runtime, which yields approximately 18,000 logs, which is personally more than I will ever use. If you've made it this far, thanks for sticking around, and consider being my literal first ever subscriber. Goodbye!